Hey everyone, it's Darren. Welcome. Today's video, we're looking at how to work with different units. I have an earlier video, it's linked down in the description. Talks about how to work with elapsed time when the built-in time functions don't work. Uh, for example, if Excel thinks that your ending time is before your starting time, it gives an error. Uh, but that's specific to hours, minutes, seconds. This is kind of relevant anywhere. Here I'm using cooking measurements. If you live in a country that uses metric and has all metric measures, you don't have to deal with this. It's so nice and convenient when you're doing that. Uh, but if you live in the US, for example, where this is the kind of measurements we get for cooking, we have this. Or it happens other places too. We know a marathon is like 22 or 26.2 miles. It's really 22 or 26.375 yards, I think. But what if they represented that as, 17 miles, 12,600 yards, 19,000 inches, and 4 centimeters or whatever? Uh, those are really horrible units to work in. And we have to sort of get those to something that makes sense to us. So what we're going to do today is show how to actually convert those units and get them kind of broken down into like reasonable, rational numbers. Up on the screen on the right-hand side, I have the values of the conversions. Uh, I don't know all of these off the top of my head. If you're a professional cook, you probably do. If you're not a professional cook, you probably don't. So there are 3 teaspoons in a tablespoon. There are 16 tablespoons in a cup. There are 2 cups in a pint, 2 pints in a quart, and 4 quarts in a gallon. Why are any of those numbers like that? Got a clue. Uh, but that's what we've got to work with, so that's what we're using. Okay, and over on the left, I have some measures here. This is what we're starting with. So we have 13 teaspoons, 9 tablespoons, 7 cups, 3 pints, 1 quart, and 6 gallons. And what I'd like to get is basically break this down to the minimum quantity. So I'll have like the largest how many gallons do I have, and then I won't have like right now I have 13 teaspoons. That should be 13 teaspoons should be uh, 4 tablespoons and 1 cup or 1 teaspoon. Uh, so we're going to try to break that down. So how do we go about doing this? Well, the first thing you have to do is you have to get everything into the same unit. It doesn't matter what unit you pick, really. It just all has to be the same unit. Uh, Personally, okay, I'm human. You might have guessed that. Uh, and most humans, like me, tend to do better thinking in whole numbers. So we could convert everything to gallons if we wanted to, uh, and then we'd have everything in decimals. Uh, I don't like thinking in decimals. I can do it. I can think in fractions, whatever. So we're going to convert everything to the smallest unit, which in this case is teaspoons. If you're working with distances, that might be inches or feet or meters or whatever. Uh, so let's go ahead and convert these over. So how do we do this? Well, it's pretty simple, really. Uh, so we're going to do header here, teaspoons. So how many teaspoons are in 13 teaspoons? Okay, this one, it starts easy, it gets harder. Equals A2. Okay, hey, great, we've got 13 teaspoons, we're all set. Okay, what about teaspoons and 9 tablespoons? Well, that is going to be A3 times I2 over there. And what that's saying is I take the number of tablespoons I have and I convert them times the number of uh, teaspoons in a tablespoon, and that tells me I have 27 teaspoons. Okay. So now this one is going to be sort of the same thing. It's going to be A4 times, which is 7 cups. There's 16 tablespoons in a cup. So it's times I3. And then convert that over to teaspoons, which is I2, 336 teaspoons. Okay, so now I have this one is going to be A5 for 3 pints. Multiply that times I4, which is cups in a pint, times I3, which is tablespoons in a cup, times I2, which is teaspoons in a tablespoon. So 3 pints is 288 teaspoons. Okay, I have 1 quart. Okay, so that is A6 times uh, I5, which is pints in a quart, times I4, which is cups in a pint, times I3, which is tablespoons in a cup, times I2, which is teaspoons in a tablespoon. And as you probably guessed, this for gallons, I have 6 gallons. That's going to be equals A7 times uh, I6 times I5 times I4 times I3 times I2, which is 4,608 teaspoons in 6 gallons. Uh, Obviously, I prefer to think of 6 gallons rather than thinking of 4,608 teaspoons. If you prefer the 4,608, go for it, but we're going to go with this. Okay, so to add all this up is just C2 to C7. So adding all of these quantities with dissimilar units gives me 5,464 teaspoons. Okay, so now I've got one simple, easy to use number, and I am not going to sit in the kitchen and put 5,462 teaspoons of anything into my mixing bowl. So now we have to go back the other way and break it down into teaspoons, tablespoons, cups, pints, quarts, and gallons. So let's go ahead and do that now. So the way that we're going to do this is we're going to make use of the modulo operator. And I'm actually just going to make a temporary column over here. And then final quantities here. So the running amount that I know here is 5464, right? So let's go put that up there. Um, Final quantities is what I need to do is I need to subtract out how many teaspoons there are that aren't also part of tablespoons, if that makes sense. So that is the mod operator, which is for modulo, D2, and then the number of teaspoons in a tablespoon is I2, and that gives me 1. And if you think about it, I had 13 teaspoons and 3 teaspoons per tablespoon. So that would mean there's 4 teaspoons is 1 tablespoon, or 12 teaspoons is 4 tablespoons plus 1 teaspoon. This is that 1 teaspoon. Okay, so now I have teaspoons, and remember I want the minimum number of things to pour into my mixing bowl. I don't want to pour in 5,464 teaspoons. I want to dump in, 6, 7, 8 gallons and a couple of cups and whatever, because I'm lazy, like everyone else. So now we need to calculate how much is left after we've taken out that teaspoon. So what that is, of course, is D2 minus E2, and that gives me the number of teaspoons left, right? And I'm going to divide this by I2, and that's the number of tablespoons remaining. So I took this, I subtracted that out, I divided by this, and that gives me tablespoons. Okay, so now the formula is pretty much the same here. It's just equals mod of D3, and the divisor in this case is the number of tablespoons in a cup. And remember, I'm not dividing, this is the remainder operation. And that tells me I have 13 tablespoons. Okay. Now again, I have 1 teaspoon, 13 tablespoons, and now I need the remainder here. And that is going to be D3 minus, I'm going to put parentheses on that. It's D3 minus E3 divided by I3. So now this gives me 113 cups. So I have 1 teaspoon, 9 tablespoons, and 113 cups. I don't want to pour 113 cups in. Let's keep going, which is obviously modulo of D4 and 2 cups per pint. It's 1. Okay. And again, we'll just keep going here, which is the same formula there, really. So it equals D4 minus E4 divided by I4. Tells me I have 56 pints. Okay. 56 pints is still a lot of things to pour into there, so I'm going to take that down again. Equals D5 mod of D5, and pints to quarts is 2. Oh, no pints, not to put any pints in. Okay. And this is going to be, again, D5, D5 minus E5. And it's 0, but I'm putting it in there anyway because I can change the numbers that way, and it'll change this for me automatically. Divided by I5. So I have 28 quarts. 28 quarts is still a lot of things to pour into there. So that's mod of D6. And 4 quarts per gallon is I6. And no quarts. Okay, this is coming out a little easier to mix this recipe up than I was thinking it would be. Okay, so this is D6 minus E6 divided by I6 is 7. Okay, 7 times 4 is 28, sounds about right. In this case, I could just copy that over because there is no, I'm not converting that back again. So that is just equals D7. Okay, so we started out with 13 teaspoons, 9 tablespoons, 7 cups, 3 pints, 1 quart, and 6 gallons. And that's a nightmare recipe to pour into my mixing bowl. That's a lot of stuff to work with. And I ended up with 7 gallons, 1 cup, 13 tablespoons, and 1 teaspoon. Uh, so this is kind of broken down to the simplest form. And usually you'll want to do that. No one wants to hear, okay, this process is going to take 3 days, 76 hours, 97 minutes, 14 seconds. They want it broken down more this way. So this is how you do it. Can you put all this into one big, long, ugly formula? Oh yeah, you can do that. It gets really long and ugly, but you can do it. Um, Personally, I actually prefer sometimes to just put intermediate columns in, especially if I'm the only one using it. Okay. So one of the things you can do here Now I can come over here and I can just change this. I do 15 quarts, right? Didn't change anything. And the reason it didn't change anything is that here I just typed in the value instead of the cell reference. So obviously you need to do the cell reference, which is C8. And now as I change stuff over here and I do 12 pints and whatever, it changes everything automatically for me. Uh, if I'm keeping this for myself, if I'm not going to be passing this to anybody else, I'm just going to leave it like this. If I'm passing this off to other people to use, um, I'm probably still not putting it all in one big ugly formula because it's really big and ugly and it's going to take a lot of time for me to fix typos in it. But what I will typically do is I'll just collapse out my temporary columns and I can collapse these things out here too. And as you hand this to somebody and they want 2 cups instead, it changes stuff for them automatically and they don't see all that calculation work going on. So you wind up with just a really simple, really basic spreadsheet that gives them exactly what they want, hides all the calculations from them because honestly, let's be honest, most people don't want to see all those calculations, and everything just works. So this is how you do it. If you learned anything from the video, please do like and subscribe to the channel, hit notify. I have a Patreon page at patreon.com/data analysis excellence. Share this with your friends. Really trying to grow the channel, get this out to more people, and that's the way we do it. Liking, subscribing costs nothing, and it helps us out a lot. Uh, Thanks for stopping by, and see you again next time.